This is Entrepreneurs Get Visible, the podcast for people who want more impact, influence, and income. I'm Anna Parker-Naples, and I'll be sharing with you proven methods from leading entrepreneurs that help you get visible as an authority in your field. Because anything's possible when you get visible.
Hey there, and welcome to Entrepreneurs Get Visible. I want to talk to you today about intentional upleveling. And the reason that I'm talking about this is I had a bit of a moment at the weekend where I found a very old vision board that I'd created about 4 years ago and not quite finished it. I'm sure most of you will know what a vision board is, but just in case you don't, I'll give you a little recap. A vision board is where you place pictures, words, images of things you want to manifest in your life, things that you want to bring into your world. And this particular vision board, I got partway through it and then got distracted. And I'd actually done it on a pin board. And what I'd got, all that I'd managed to do was I'd pulled out some images of some women, some authors and motivational speakers that I admired. There were pictures of microphones. Now, at this point, I was planning when I created it 4 years ago, my intention had been that I knew I had to be a motivational speaker. So there was lots of images of microphones and of standing on stages. And then there was a logo saying Amazon bestseller. And then there was a little cutout that I'd got that said Facebook group 1,000 members celebration. And I started this particular vision board and consequently never actually finished it. I started it just before I'd had the idea for my first online business. So I already had that intention of the people I wanted as my peers. That's who those two women were. And I felt a bit emotional when I was clearing up the office over the weekend, because I had this moment of realization that I had achieved what was in that picture. Not in the way that I would have imagined it, but that sense of bringing those women into my world and using microphones to spread my message as a motivational speaker. Although I'm not on stages, that's actually what I'm doing every day in my life. And the weirdest thing was, I discovered this vision board, very dusty and curled and frayed, and the lighting had, the sunlight had damaged it, so it was sun damaged. I discovered it on Saturday morning. Now, I had a call with a client on Friday night, and he's based in LA. And in our call, we were talking about his podcast launch. And he is a very high-playing entrepreneur who has had some time out due to really life-threatening illness and is coming back into the entrepreneurial online sphere, if you like. So he's very experienced, but is having this big return. And I'm helping him to produce his podcast. And he mentioned that part of the podcast launch that we'll be putting together in order to get his show out there, he would be joined by a number of extremely high-profile entrepreneurs, of which 2 of the names were Gabrielle Bernstein and Mel Robbins. Now, at this point, I kind of thought, oh, that's very exciting. And then when I pulled out this vision board the next day and found it dusty and covered with sunlight fading, I realised that that's who these 2 women were on this vision board. And what's interesting is that I'd already, before I even knew I was coming into the online space, I'd already in my mind set the intention of the level I wanted to play at. And that's really important. Who you surround yourself with makes a huge difference to the results that you get. And so I'd like you to be thinking about who is it that you want as your, I want to say the word compatriots. I'm sure that's not the right term. Who is it you want as your peers? Who is it you want as your friends? Who is it you want to bring into your world as people who would recommend and refer you? Who is it you want to, what are the 2nd, 3rd and 4th degree connections that you need to have in order to make that possible for yourself? And I want to talk about this today because in my work, starting to serve and work with entrepreneurs at that level was always what I set out to do. And it doesn't necessarily manifest in your life in the way that you envision it, but certainly making those connections can definitely happen. When I started out in the voice acting space many years ago, and I'm sure you've heard me talk about this here before, The reason that I had the success in Hollywood, the reason that I was on the red carpets numerous times for awards out there, was because when I started to get really serious about the voice acting, I knew that I wanted to be amongst the best. Now, in order to do that, you've got to know who are those key figures of influence and how can you, as an unknown, how can you pull yourself up into their world, into their ranks? How can you be associated with them? How can you make sure that they notice you? How can you make sure that you're creating materials that are on a par with them? And that doesn't happen without intention. The same happened for me when I decided that I wanted to be a motivational speaker. So one of the first things I did was think, well, where can I get on stages to speak? And who in the UK might be speaking about the topic that I want to talk about? And at the time, I focused quite heavily on mindfulness because that was one of the tools that helped me to unravel how I felt about myself. And I was looking at who's really talking about this in the UK. And at the time, it was Ruby Wax and Will Young. He was talking a lot about mental health and using mindfulness to counteract what was going on. So I looked at where are they likely to be booked? Where have they spoken in the past? Where are they likely to be invited back to again? And I set out to make sure I got myself on those stages. And as a result of getting on those stages, it doesn't mean that the first year I was able to do that, but certainly by the second year, I'd thought about, well, who's booking those stages? Who's booking the people there? What do they need to see, hear and feel about me in order to trust me enough to put me on those stages? And I think that's really what building a personal brand is all about. What is it that people need to see, think, hear, feel about us in order to know that we're trustworthy, in order to know the level of expertise that we're playing at? So I'd like you to just stop and think about this. Who do you want to be positioned alongside? Who do you want people to go, oh, she's in that category, or I associate him with this? Where do you want to be catalogued? And maybe that's an uncomfortable thought for you. That's that sense of being pigeonholed in some way. But we see certain level of entrepreneurs in a similar way. We package them up together. Who do you want to be associated with and lumped in with, if you like? And crucially, what level are you not playing at or you are no longer willing to stay at? Because if you're going to intentionally up-level, it starts with your intention. It starts in your mind. So let yourself think about where you're going. Let yourself think about who is it that needs to see you at that level in order for you to then achieve the results that come with it. Is it a booking agent in some way? Is it those particular individuals would need to see you? Is it that your clients would need to see you in that way? Is it that in order to feel as though you're on that level, you need to have your book in a particular bookstore? Is it that you need to speak on a particular stage? Think about what the evidence would look like in order for you to know that you had achieved that level of success. The next thing I want you to think about is, well, in order for me to do that level of work, to be seen, heard and recognised as belonging and deserving to belong at that level, who is it that you need to become? What qualities does that person who's achieved that level of success in 2, 3, 4 or 5 years' time, what qualities do they have that actually are already lying inside you that you can step into now? And I do often think that it comes down to this level of deservedness. And I talk about this in Get Visible, in my first book. I talk about letting yourself see your own potential first. Because when you do that, suddenly those big, lofty dreams about being positioned alongside someone in the charts, be it Jay Shetty or Tony Robbins or Amy Porterfield, well, that becomes possible because of who you've chosen to be. Having your book as a bestseller in Amazon alongside people like Gary Vaynerchuk or I can't think of anyone else, Rob Moore or whoever. What do you need to show the world in order to get that feedback back that you're on the path to being there? And so I would allow yourself to dream, to daydream a little, be intentional about dreaming. If I'm going to allow myself to evolve, what am I allowing myself to evolve into? And this is where vision boarding can be really useful. create a vision board, pull out those images of what you're building for your life. And they might seem grand and far off right now. But if you take daily action and daily steps to raise your profile, it doesn't have to take a million years. It's not so far away. Think about who you want to bring into your world and think about what it is, what that vision statement has to be. What does that world, what does that vision that you're seeing in those images, what does it represent for you? Who are you that's achieving that? And I want to invite you to attend a masterclass that I'm hosting on Monday, the 8th of March, which is called Raise Your Profile and Prices. Because that's when you can have more income, when you have built a strong personal brand. And when you pull all of those elements together, it's incredibly powerful. So you can go and find out about that at annapn.co/raise. That's raise with a capital R. So annapn.co/raise with a capital R. It'll be in the show notes. You aren't going to get where you want to get if you don't stop and think about it. And if you don't have clarity about what it would be like, feel like, to be in that position, to have those peers, to be doing that level of success, achieving that level of success. So let yourself dream, because anything is possible when you get visible.
Thank you for listening to Entrepreneurs Get Visible. To get your free checklist on how to raise your profile and to find out about our community, go to annaparkernaples.co.uk/get visible.